Success on the CPC exam is a combination of studying and strategy, not just understanding the exam platform, but also how to navigate it and how to navigate it with a coder mindset, how to use those tools and apply them to those questions. So, understanding how to use them is the first part, but today I'm going to do a little bit more deeper of a dive into some of the functions and how to strategically use them on your exam. Specifically today, I want to go over the flagging of questions and the Notepad feature because the Notepad feature, I don't think gets used to its full potential, and it can really trip you up, especially if you're someone who's like, if I don't have paper and pencil, how am I going to keep track of my thought process during the exam and process of elimination? How do we do that as well? Because I'll tell you, even when you watch the official review videos from the APC and they show you process of elimination, they will cross out answers. There's no crossing out of answers on the exam platform. So how do you apply that strategy when you don't have a feature to cross things out? You have no pencil and paper. You don't have a feature in the exam platform to do that. You use it with the Notepad feature. And let's get into it. So when you get into your exam, it's going to look kind of similar to this. And one of the big things I want to show you is, these keys they'll talk to you about in the exam platform tutorials, like moving these back and forth, the different settings, and they'll talk about how to, undock things, move them around, which you can do with things like your Notepad. If you want to move them around, make them bigger, put them back at the side panel here. And a lot of people will find how to flag questions, but I've had some people comment in the channel and say, well, I had to flag these questions, but then I had to go back and back and back and back and back to find the questions that I flagged. And you actually don't have to do that. So let's say you have a question flagged here. Let's say I want to flag this question, and then I'm 20 questions past it, and I don't know how to get back, and I don't want to go back and back and back and back. Where you can find that listing is here under contents. So when you go into the contents section, it's going to show you all of the questions that you flagged. So if you want to come back to something because it's a long question, maybe it's a cardiology question, which isn't your forte, or it's a very long surgical question, or there's CPT and ICD-10 CMs, or there's a case that you're just like, oh my gosh, I know that I'm going to invest too much time in this. I want to skip it and come back. You can flag it. And then as you're going around, all you have to do is click on that flag and it will take you back to that question. You can see all your flags. You can unflag the questions. So that is an important strategy. If there's something even that you're like, hey, I want to flag this just because if I have time at the end of the exam, I want to take a second look at it and make sure that I'm correct. You can do that as well. So flag those questions, go into the contents to find the listing of all of the different questions that are on that exam of the different categories, and you can skip around to those flagged questions. The exam timer, if this freaks you out and you're like, I do not want to see these seconds ticking around, close it. I do want to mention quickly the calculator feature. If you think that you can 10 key on here, if you have a keyboard with a 10 key, or you want to use your numbers at the top, that function will not work with a calculator. You have to physically click on the numbers in order to use this calculator. So if you're doing a skin graft or you're calculating dosages for a medication, you have to click on this to use the calculator functions. Now, let's talk about this Notepad. Process of elimination. That's a big thing. So if you look at the questions that are on the exams, they don't give you an A, B, C, or D. There's no 1, 2, 3, or 4. They're just radio buttons. And the reason they do that now is because the answers are randomized. So it's not like you can memorize the question and then go, oh yeah, the answer is going to be answer C, because they're going to scramble up the different answers. So you might have an exact same question that someone else does that they got from their pool of the exam bank. Because remember, this exam is randomized from an exam bank. The APC has an exam bank of over 1,000 questions, and they're ranked by difficulty and category and all kinds of stuff. And they will randomize the questions. You just get 100 of them out of this huge, huge pool. And they also scramble up the answers too. So not everyone's going to get the answers in the exact same order. So you might have them, let's say that we'll say 1, 2, 3, and 4. Someone else might get 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So there's no memorizing exactly the answers unless you want to memorize all of the codes for the answer. It's better really to understand the concepts, which, just a quick plug, I do have a CPC review video where I talk more about the concepts that you need to understand for the exam in order to be successful. It is very affordable. Check that out, contempocoding.com. And having said that, if you have paper exams, if you have practice questions, if you have old books like I do, paper textbooks, they probably list some of these answers as A, B, C, and D, but that's not what it's going to look like for the exam. So if we are here on this platform, let's use what we have to do process of elimination. So here's what I would recommend. You can put on here either 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D if that's what you're more comfortable with. So let's go here, A, B, C, D. Again, this is your personal preference. I'm not telling you that you have to do this, but just giving you some ideas for strategies. So let's say I'm looking at this and I know I'm going to say that, I'm just going to go in order. The top one's going to be A, the second one's going to be B, the third one in order is going to be C, fourth one in order is going to be D. And let's say I look at that one and I've said, okay, this one I'm going to say is C. And I'm like, oh, I know this isn't going to be right because it has a 51 modifier on it, and it's a code that's 51 modifier exempt. I just put an X there. And that, for me, means I've eliminated that. It's not going to be this one. Or I could put a little note here and go unspecified code or whatever little note I want to put back there. And the reason I like doing this way is, let's say I'm on to the next question and I want to do process of elimination or whatever again. I can move those and still have my A, B, C, and D. So that makes it a little bit easier than like backspacing out the C or backspacing out the B. But you can do that. I personally just like okay, well, I'm going to eliminate this one and maybe make a little note here. And then, oh yeah, now I know it's this one. Okay, and click the radio button. And then if I want to make other notes down here, I can, which let me kind of talk you through lesion questions, because they like to ask questions about lesions. And I've taken quite a number of lesion exams, plastic surgery, dermatology as well. So I know what the format for them is, and they like to ask questions where it's like, okay, we've got one lesion of the shoulder, but then also a lipoma that's subcutaneous, and then this one was intermediate, and this one was complex, but maybe it wasn't complex, and then this one was simple closure, and you have to piece together, okay, where are the closures I can combine, and know that you can't combine the lesion sizes, and make sure you code those all out to the right sizes and stuff. So like, how do you keep track of that if you have a question like that? So I've got a mock question that I'm going to impose over here. So let's say I've got this case that I'm looking at, and I'm like, I don't know how to keep track of this with this Notepad feature. You can make some notes. And you can't, highlight your book, note your book, but you can use this Notepad. So let's say I'm trying to keep track and I've got this note with all of these lesions on it. So lesion 1, I'm going to put down here, is a BCC, basal cell carcinoma of the back. And I'm going to put on here that the size was 2.0 plus the margins. Now, I'm not going to get too in depth. This is a case practice. This is just to show you strategy. So if you want to go through and code this, you can, but I'm merely showing you strategy of how we use this Notepad feature, not doing in depth of how we code lesions. Okay. So let's say I'm going here 0.5. And when we measure lesions, though, they are widest excision area plus narrowest margin. Now, this one, the margins were the same all around, which means the margins on one side and the opposing side need to be added. And they're going to be the same because it was equal all around. So we have here, we can do our little math. We could pull up our calculator and use it. But here we have, that is, here's my equal sign. Okay, there we go. 2 plus 0.5 plus 0.5 is 3 excision. And we have a 3.2 intermediate repair. We have lesion 2. I can't type today, my gosh. And that was a actinic keratosis. And if you have abbreviations that you understand and you can just type real quick to save yourself some exam time, absolutely use them. Again, I'm not saying you have to do it this way. I'm just giving some ideas for strategies. So this one was 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 0.5. So the size of the excision, where is my equal sign? Different keyboards throwing me off. So this would be 2.0 excision, and it was a 2.6 intermediate repair. You can combine repairs that are of the same anatomical grouping per CPT and same complexity. So intermediate closures of the same grouping can be combined, and intermediate closures and complex closures, simple closures, same complexity of the same grouping can be combined. All right. And then our lesion 3 is really small. It's a 0.5. And then the margins were 0.2 and 0.2. And that equals 0.9 excision. And it was a simple repair. I can make a note there, but simple repairs are included with lesion excision. So we would not code out separately for simple one-layer closures. So if I'm looking at this, I can code out my diagnosis codes if they ask for them. But I could also go through here now and go, okay, it was a lesion of the back. So now we can look at these and go, okay, well, I can code out, let's say, the excisions first. So the excision of the basal cell carcinoma was 11604 when I look it up. And then actinic keratosis 11403. We have the closures because we can combine the 3.2 and the 2.6. And I could make a note about that too and just put, the size of the intermediate repair. In fact, let's do that. Intermediate repair total is, let's see, 3 and 5 and then 7 cm, which comes out to CPT code 12032. And then we have the lesion that was on the cheek, which is our lesion 3, and that is our 11440. So we could look at these and go, okay, now that we have all of this coded out, we can go and look at our answers and figure out based off of this, which is the most appropriate answer selection. So that's how you would look at the notepad and utilize it, make some notes to dump out all of that thought process in your brain and get it written down. Some people will say, oh, well, it might take me a while to type. It would still take you a while to write it down, arguably. So I've been in meetings with instructors and they've said, my students are really struggling with the paper and pad. Can we go back to the whiteboard? Can we do something, to give them that pencil again? And, if you think of other formal examinations for certifications, for licensures, for people that are going out to become physical therapists or nurses, you would not go into the NCLEX and expect to have pencil and paper. And I think that, I hate to say it, but I think if the nursing board was approached and they're like, hey, we want pencil and paper again for the NCLEX exams, I don't think it would go over so well. I'm absolutely very, very sympathetic to it, but I just don't feel that that's something that's going to happen in the future. So I want you to be able to understand how to utilize the tools that you are given. So I hope this video helped you understand some of the strategies and how to apply them on your platform, not just the technical components, but like from a coder to coder, here's how I would do it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this video with a friend. I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.